Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the OK Grognard Show. It is Tuesday, May 19th, 2020, 9:30 a.m. Central in beautiful Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. A little rainy today, but that won't stop us from doing a little cartography and world building. Catchy title, huh? The Splunging Meeks? What the hell are the Splunging Meeks? Well, I'll tell you. You see the map on the title screen here. I was in a thread with Johnathan L Bingham, excellent illustrator and map maker. He does a lot of work for the Hyperborea line with Mr. Talanian and all sorts of other old school and new school outfits. And just incredible work he does. Anyway, he has this sort of a shared world project he's been kicking around for a while. He's got a few other people involved, and it's kind of a bring to the table what you want to bring to the table sort of thing. I was looking it over and chatting with him in the thread in the OK Grognard Show Facebook group, and we got into a conversation about how I'm not really a map maker. I'm not an artist when it comes to the visual arts. I write stuff, and I have published stuff for nearly 20 years. It'll be 20 years later this year for Creative Mountain Games. Come December, that's about when I started working on stuff and putting out little things. First adventure was the following year, I think, was Whispering Woodwind. But I had a few other minor things prior to that. Anyway, I said, I really can't help you when it comes to putting maps together and that sort of thing. I said, if you have some area that's mapped and needs some working over. He said, well, I've got some maps. He said, I've got this one thing I worked up for Jeffrey Talanian for Astonishing Swordsmen and Sorcerers of Hyperborea. It got turned down in favor of another map based on some feedback, and I'm paraphrasing what he said. He said, here, I've got this loose map laying around. Well, he passed it along to me to have a look, and it was a little on the raw side. Let's see if I can bring up a copy of what he first showed to me. Anyway, he showed me this map. This is kind of like a living creature dungeon sort of thing. And you can see it's got this orifice up in the upper right. And it had been keyed, and obviously it was drawn and colored in. It wasn't digitized. It never got that far along. You can see these extra tentacles down off to the bottom weren't quite even finished in a lot of this extra space, and these flangey sort of wing-like, it's a sort of amorphous kind of thing, and there's no telling how large it is. The scale was not defined, and I thought, well, what if this was a huge creature? Well, I took the map and I played with it. I got rid of the keying that was in there, and I got it on the old Photoshop and did a little coloring in just to give it some additional depth, just a little more definition. Colored some stuff in, cleaned some other stuff up, and then came up with, and we'll just bring these up now, some working screens. There to go, just a car. How you doing, buddy? Good to see ya. Good to see ya. I was just talking about this Johnathan Bingham map that I've been working with. So I colored in some stuff. I added a few touches to the lines here and there and these flangey sort of wings, and I thought, well, it's definitely a world building challenge. And even though this is cartography and world building, I don't mean to key on what little I did as far as the cartography is concerned here. This is Jonathan's map. I just digitized some portions of it. I mean, I'd gotten it as a digital file and cleaned up a few things just to make it look the way I wanted it to look for what I had in mind. So imagine this orifice, and then there's this tube down in this sort of central chamber, and then these antechambers and additional tubes going this way and that. So my idea was, what if this was a huge creature that had, well, if these are, say, 10-foot squares or even 5-foot squares, let's say they're 5-foot squares, that'd make these tubes pretty snug. If they're 10-foot squares, that's probably more like it, especially since what I have in mind for the tubes is a little bit on the strange side, to say the least. So what I came up with, this idea that this was a huge creature that lives underground and puts forth from these nodes within it gray oozes, black puddings, green slimes, gelatinous cubes, all these sort of amorphous creatures that are spawned from somewhere. What if it's an entity like this? And what if these end chambers, 1, 2, 3, and 4, had these sort of nodules in there where these creatures, each specific to a type, were spawned? And what if there was a sort of a chamber over here where there was a kind of a not a beholder, but a floating brain with tendrils that come off it, which it can sink into the walls of its chamber and control the rest of this huge being, as if either it is the brain of this big creature or it is a parasitic sort of a brain creature that symbiotically lives within this larger creature, a sort of evil consciousness embodied by a floating brain-like thing with tendrils. So it's got this sort of home chamber that controls the rest of the complex. And one of the thoughts is, and here's an introduction I kind of wrote up to sort of jumping off point. And I wrote, this adventure is a testament to the power of inspiration a map can bring. When Johnathan L Bingham showed it to me, I must admit I was both intrigued and vexed as to what I might do with it. But a few days after first seeing it, and mind you, this was just a couple of weeks ago, beginning of the month, some rough ideas began to form. What I eventually decided to try was to create an organic environment that would be a maze-like dungeon crawl within a birthing complex for slimes, oozes, puddings, and other viscous beings, but with an overarching evil malevolence behind their production. Then a sort of a poetry began to surface from my subconscious. I'll have more on that in a little while. With portion Susian, but also influenced by Lewis Carroll's Jabberwocky and perhaps just a touch of Genesis, The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. The meter and rhyme took shape into a story, an epic tale unfolded of a hapless group of adventurers seeking to rid the world of a nameless horror and a complex so terrifying they knew it was unlikely they would succeed. Yet that did not daunt them, and so their fate was sealed. The poem runs concurrent with the details of the adventure, lending some flavor to the mechanics and particulars of this document. Hopefully it will prove useful to someone presenting the adventure, helping to facilitate an appropriate tone beyond the mundane descriptions. It can serve to simply inform the referee or be shared piecemeal as the various encounter areas are explored and traversed. So I started writing this poem. I shared a little bit in the thread in the OK Grognard Show Facebook group. There comes a time, my splunging Meeks, that loins are girded sans the thunking. By way of gullet, troves we seek, through innards then we go spelunking. So with great care, 'twixt gnashing teeth, we repel down esophagus, and as we land, our blades unsheath to wade through bile, gall, and pus. Into this place where great ones hatch, not elders yet, but embryos, sent forth we were to life dispatch. Within our evils no one knows. There's a bit more. I'll save the rest of it, because some of it alludes to specific things within the complex, and I don't want to set those in there quite just yet. So the idea here in this world building exercise is, in a cavern below the ground there is a plain of mud which fills a deeper aquifer. Nestled in this liquefied matter is a creature which shifts about periodically to push its single orifice to the surface, whereby it draws breath and belches forth foul substances of a most grotesque nature. It is not known if this rare being is alien to the planet or simply so primeval that its origins are lost to time immemorial. The organic complex, depicted in Johnathan L Bingham's map, begins in the upper right with a mouth-like orifice that gives way to a series of tubes and chambers. I took the liberty of assuming most of the tubes would allow transit in only one direction, due to an abundance of retrorse spines and slippery secretions which coat the entirety of the tubular passageway. These spines are pliant when encountered from one direction, but stiffen when confronted from the other, and from the inflexible direction can cause great damage. So the idea is that these are like the spines one might find in a pitcher plant or perhaps a Venus flytrap, such that something can go in, but it can't get out. The secretions which coat the passageways and chambers of the complex are multi-purposed. They break down organic matter, materials, and minerals, albeit slowly, such that leather and skin will degrade within 24 hours, and metals will break down in 72 hours. And all such materials will be absorbed into the structure, biochemically repurposed to generate fuel for the processes which produce the output of the complex, those slimes and oozes and puddings. So too these secretions are likewise incombustible and will squelch fire in moments, if exposed to the flames of a torch or oil. The maze-like complex. There is a maze-like quality to much of the complex, in several instances leading back to the entry chamber. That is this central chamber here. 4 dead-end compartments hold spawning points for the complex's grotesque issue. If these production nodules are destroyed, the passageways that lead to them will cease to allow only one-way transit. So the idea is, if you can get into one of these dead-end passages, even though those spines only allow transit in the direction toward that chamber, reflexively by this creature, if you destroy that production, that spawning point within that dead end, then that passageway will become inert and those spines will cease to be inflexible from one direction and will just kind of wither, and you can traverse the passage in either direction. Then I thought, well, okay, so I've got these four, 1, 2, 3, 4 chambers. I've got the idea that this will be like the central brain chamber. And I've got these other chambers to work with. So these are what I'm kind of still trying to figure out. I thought this far one at the bottom could be a sort of a furnace, if you will. And my idea was that the floor, ceiling, and walls of this chamber are marred by a sooty residue that tinges the secretions with a grayish hue. Periodically and seemingly randomly, organic nozzles can protrude from any surface to spew flames from 5 to 10 feet in any direction. The burst causes 2d6 of damage to anything they engulf, with an additional 1d3 of damage for 2 rounds thereafter. So anything covered in those flames, it's almost like a naphtha, like napalm. Saving throws can be granted for half damage from the initial burst, but subsequent damage is unavoidable and anything initially hit is damaged. Larger, bulky matter, which happens to become lodged in the nearby tubes, is transported by the undulations of the inherent spines. The flames are produced through the outer walls of the creature, of this creature complex, which has a close proximity to a magma chamber at the lowest portion of the mud-filled aquifer, which ignites a naphtha produced by glands in the flesh of the complex creature. Anything disturbing any surface in this chamber, that's this one in the lower left, so anything disturbing any surface in this chamber will irritate it such that 1d4 nozzles will protrude every other round and produce the flames. While the nozzles can be damaged and individually destroyed, it will have no effect nor belay the other nozzles from protruding and producing new spouts of flame. The only way to cause the nozzles to cease is by ending any contact with the floor, ceiling, or walls of this chamber. So anything that winds up pushed into or that goes into this chamber on their own volition and touches the floors, the ceiling, the walls, will cause these nozzles to pop out and spout flame and break down any matter into an ashy and organic ash, which is then absorbed eventually into the walls of the chamber and goes into the production of the various slimes and oozes and puddings. So I think we've got at least that one chamber down in the lower left set up. So I still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 chambers really to this initial chamber is ideally a sort of a foyer, an entry chamber where people can begin to figure out what's going on coming in through this initial tube. This tube will go this way, and that's another thing. So there has to be some idea as to which way each of the tubes might go. Let me give, we'll use this. This is more of a pointer, right? A little easier to see. So from this chamber, most things will only go in one direction. So we've got stuff going this way, stuff going this way, stuff going this way, stuff going this way, leaving this way. This can go this way and wind up depositing you back in the original chamber. Stuff can go this way, this way, this way, and then this way. This has to go this way, I guess. Right? So I have to make some decisions about the paths, the directionality of each tube or passage, so that stuff filters toward the nodules and eventually to the brain area and out of it again. So it won't be linear. You'll have some choices to make, but sooner or later you got to get out of this thing. At some point you need to destroy the spawning points for the various oozes and puddings and kill the brain to kill the creature. But you have to get back out of here, because those secretions that cover the walls and floors and ceilings and all of the tubes and chambers of this are slowly breaking down anything that comes into this. One of the other thoughts was that the entire complex can, through its skin, exude air. So it can breathe in large amounts of air and then force them out like an air hockey table all over the place. And if you've ever seen something that was sand that was aerated such that it's called liquefaction, it becomes an almost liquid. This is how this shifts itself around under the mud and gets its orifice up to the surface to do its occasional breathing. Now, from the outside, if one is down in say a subterranean complex and enters a great mud plain or a sand plain cavern, somewhere toward the center of it, hidden or not so hidden, can be this opening, this orifice, whereby folks can enter into this complex, into this creature. And once they're in, they've got approximately 24 hours to kill this thing off and get the heck out of it. And again, there's this this idea that once you've killed it off, then the spines that only allow the one-way directionality of the various tubes will relax or wither, become inert, so that you can then travel back out. Hey, so, Lost Nomad, Gingern, XL809, I see, are lurking around here. Be sure to say hello in the stream chat, and be sure to follow the channel. That will get you into the weekly drawing. Article Just a Car. I've got you added in, Todd. So that's 3 so far in week 8. Don't forget, this week we've got a second set of these patches available. I'm sending one off to Johnathan Bingham down in New Zealand. He won week 7. I made that announcement yesterday, but there is a second set of these OSR patches available. There you go. Good morning. Good morning there, Mark. How are you? And I went and took a picture. I opened up the stone. I got the dice all set up on the memorial stone and took a picture of them with along with the 20-siders that were to be included with the other dice. Also got a pile of Lake Geneva Games 6-siders that I brought along and took a picture of those on the stone as a future giveaway. I wanted to make sure that I had those blessed, properly blessed. As you can see, there's only 5 20-siders on there. There's actually a 6th one. I had already put it into, I think, the red set. So it's inside there, but it's on the stone, and a picture's been taken, so it's officially blessed. And these are going out. I've got them packaged and ready to go. I'm going to head over to the post office today and get these shipped out. I know Todd won a set. Got those later this week. I don't know what you're up to. Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, but if you get the chance, drop $2 on the Con of Champions for a weekend badge and jump into some events over the weekend or sit in on some of the seminars. There'll be map making seminars and game running seminars, and I'm sure there'll be open seats and a lot of games. These are currently full, but that doesn't mean that they'll stay full. Stuff comes up, especially with some states opening up, and people that thought they would have the weekend free may find that their schedules are being adjusted, and they may have to drop from a game. But I've got 5 seats in each of these games. Currently full. A few of them have some waiting lists. Doesn't mean all of them do. Go check it out. You can see where they stand. Kind of Champions, the badges. You know, this is a tabletop events virtual convention set up to help them get through this year because they're losing all sorts of money from conventions that aren't going to be happening this year. They are a company that's set up to help conventions manage their registration in all of their events, and they are the backbone of a lot of conventions. I think Gamehole Con, but definitely Gary Con and the Gaming Hoopla, and so many other conventions that unfortunately are not going to be happening this year. And because of that, they're losing a huge amount of revenue, and they've got servers to pay for and people to employ. So if need to make a character where you slot it into a pre-gen configured one. I will have pre-generated characters for if a slot opens up, for sure. I will have pre-generated characters for all of these events and multiple ones of them for people to choose from at the appropriate level for each event. Notice their first level on the early ones, third level on the middle ones, and fifth level And if somebody winds up playing in multiple events, they'll actually be able to play the same character at multiple levels. And those pre-generated characters will be for the choosing when people show up to the event. That'll be job one when everybody gets there. And that'll be a lot of fun. We were originally going to use Discord for the voice chat, but I've kind of rescinded that. The voice and video chat within Roll20 works just fine. If you don't have a camera, you don't need one. You just need a headset and a microphone. The voice chat works just fine without the video. The video does make things run a little more smoothly. It's amazing how that works in a sense. You know, there are social cues, there are visual cues. When people are all in a video conference whereby you can tell that somebody is itching to say something but waiting their turn, or jumping in to keep somebody from doing something crazy like fall into the orifice of a giant creature and wind up having to fight slimes. So, you know, um, if you have a webcam and you don't mind using it for the video chat portion of or app, it does work out better, but it's not a requirement. So, taking a look at the rest of the week, what do we got going here? Tomorrow we'll do a little campaign discussion, a little Grimwald discussion. We may talk some more about this this Splunging Meeks thing, because it's pretty interesting. Kind of got my head in it right now, so that might be something we continue to work on. Although I'm not entirely sure. I may do some tavern stuff. Talk about taverns and talk about taverns in a large town and taverns on the outskirts and taverns as way stations. That's an interesting campaign discussion that we can have. Crafting and painting. I've been working on the catapults that I was working on last Thursday. Those are coming along. We'll take a look in on them and then talk about what will be coming up in the end of May and into June. Friday is all about building virtual tabletop adventures. It's adventure building, but it's also with a mind toward using them on the virtual tabletops. In my own case, Roll20, that's what I'll be discussing it in terms of, but it's easy enough to see how those can be moved into Fantasy Grounds or Astral, or to be used on a whiteboard situation if you're doing say running a game on a Discord chat with video, or just dropping images into Discord so everybody can see them, or if you're using a whiteboard in conjunction with, say, Zoom or Google Hangouts or Skype or some other way of connecting and running a game, say Theater of the Mind, but you want occasional maps to show off to people. Now, for my money, nothing beats having tactical combat, and that will be part of what I do with when I'm building virtual tabletop adventures, is to have them good to go for that sort of thing. I should mention D&D Beyond. I think a lot of people are using that too. Saturday, of course, the D&D cartoon episode 9 will be this week. We'll do a running review of it from a DM's perspective, and then a week from Saturday we'll start in on some Conan animated adventures. Rules retrospective on Sunday. We'll be continuing with DM Prada's initiative and combat flowcharts. They're proving very, very good so far, and I think people enjoy those. And then, of course, next Monday, weekly news and a new giveaway where we'll be talking about who's getting that next set of OSR patches. So as we wind it down, I just want to thank anybody who's here in the stream chat on Twitch. Thank you very much to Mark and to Todd, and anybody who's lurking. And I also want to say, if you're catching this on YouTube, please do subscribe to the YouTube channel and give us a little thumbs up or a thumbs down. It all works, actually. It all actually counts the same for their algorithms. So if you give someone the thumbs down, you're actually helping them. But you know what? You're helping them because you give them a little feedback too, right? And that's always a good thing. Let's see. Any questions, Mark, Todd? Anybody else want to chime in that has any questions that I can answer while I'm here? You just want to wrap this up and move on with our day. Let me get over to the post office and get these dice out so that all the past 6 weeks of winners can be rolling blessed dice when everybody gets back to gaming. Very good. All right. Well, thank you again, and I do appreciate it very much. Spread the word. We'll get some people in here. We'll talk some more. We'll keep pounding these out. This, by the way, is what is it? Episode 61? Something like that? 61. I've done 61 of these things. I don't think I've taken a day off since I started doing them. So we were doing them every day at 10:30, and we're going to continue to do them now at 9:30 daily. They're just a little thing. You know what? I originally wanted to do something to keep myself from going stir crazy, and also to just to help me remember what day of the week it is, because I'm laid off. So till the game store opens back up, I'm going a little nuts. So trying to get in a lot of virtual games and stuff, but I'm sheltering in place and laying low and making sure I stay safe and healthy so that I can game for many, many years to come. Thank you both. Thank you everyone else who's listening, and have a great day.